default. And the segue there is that in Sydney, the first reference, the 1-0, was that I may have strolled up after the event to Jim at what may have been the bar, and I may have said to Jim, "I can sing with you." And he said, "Really?" And I said, I don't know what I just said, but I think I can sing with you. Anyway, he pulled me up on stage, and it was an incredible moment for me. It was probably one of my favorite moments, and it was really a tribute to the fact that I just had that kid spirit going there. You know, I'd done all this preparation. I was so into the process of getting to the Olympics and being an Olympian, and getting there with this purpose of being in contention, being in shape to win. But I certainly wasn't in the outcome of winning. I was just in the process. I was enthralled with the whole process. I loved it. I was in Sydney, where I went to high school, and my tribute with this opera singer to try and get the score to 2-1 at least was just that kid's attitude again. I went on to the Commonwealth Games, and Jenny sent me this note right before it, and she says, "Be prepared to dance under the lights." And it's a Muhammad Ali little quote, and it was the same. I was the same. I was just this kid just there, just having a great time. I had this great picture with my dad, and just big smiles on my face, and I went there and I had the race of my life, and I was able to win. I don't know what happened in the next 2 years, but I started to drift away from, I was sure I was doing the process, but I was infatuated with the outcome. And I was saying to myself, I've got to win, I've got to defend. I've got to defend my medal. I've got to protect this outcome. And I wasn't that kid anymore. My expression had changed from dance under the lights to man on a mission. You know, I had this goal, and I was just like, I'm going to get there, I'm going to do this, and I became so infatuated with the outcome. Then unfortunately, I just kind of blurred my way into the games, ran my event. I actually had a great race, but I certainly didn't have the experience that the whole process should have led to, because I had drifted away from the process and I was just infatuated with this outcome. I brought in something to kind of pay tribute to that, because I was thinking about this whole process before I came, and I realized that I still have this plaque that's been sitting in my room since I was a little kid. When we found it, we moved, and maybe moved a couple of years ago, and I found this in the basement, and I put it after, of course. I wish I'd found this before Athens. Because it's that belief that you can do it. You have to do the process, but you have to do the belief. And so this poster, this little, I think it's just an ad, it's a cutout of an ad, and I put it up on the walls in the boarding house in Australia with me. It says, "To believe you can win is like any other kind of faith. You can think about it, talk about it, write about it, dedicate your life to it. But it doesn't matter. Belief is a simple thing. The Kenyans believe they will win as simply as the sun shines, and even if you match their training, to beat them, you have to match their faith. In my mind, I am a Kenyan." And my trademark is being this big kick finish. And people say, "What do you think about? What are you thinking about the glory of Canada when you do that?" And I'm thinking, no, I just want to get there so I can lie down. Much earlier than the other guy. But I also think that quite often, and that was that spirit, you know, that kid spirit. Who would think of something like that? That you would repeat this thing that you read on a poster about belief? Who would think that but a kid? And I brought this along just to show you that I can picture it in my boarding house, in the dorm room there. It sat on there, and these Australians, you know, they said, "You should be an Australian." And I said, "No, I'd never be that obnoxious." I've got an Aussie passport, but they're in trouble with that. The other thing I brought along for you is my training log. I have a gold medal that I would rather lose before I lost this, because I'll talk about belief. This is 1997 when I first moved to Victoria, and I somehow ended up writing Sydney 2000 gold medal, Simon Whitfield. Right there, I actually wrote it every single day. I think that's Olympic champion. It says, "I am the Olympic champion." This may be a little bit outcome oriented, but it was actually, I was very much involved in the process of doing this. I knew that I had to do the work. I go to schools quite a bit, and I joke to the kids, I read along, and I say, you know, I did have some stumbling blocks on December 11th. It says, "Slept in till 11 a.m. Even future Olympian champions get to sleep in." I had a couple of sleep-in moments there. So, going forward, how did I reflect on this? Well, I had the coffee of a lifetime. I had this experience where I sat down with Hamish Carter from New Zealand, a very, very, very close friend of mine. He's just the most wonderful guy, 2 kids, great attitude. We had coffee in Victoria 2 years ago, and we talked about the Olympics. It's a conversation, Daniel Galley's here, it's a conversation I'd love to have with him one day as we shared that Olympic experience. Where are you, Daniel? You out there somewhere? There he is. You know, I always challenge him to a wrestle, and he tells me that I'm out of his weight class. I think that would also be 1-0. I'd be down 3-1, down 3-0 here, and 1-0 there. Anyway, Daniel and I would have the same conversation, but Hamish and I had this incredible conversation about our Olympic experiences, and there I was. I stood beside him at both events, both in Sydney and in Athens. I was on the left-hand side of the pontoon. I looked at Hamish Carter. He was white as a sheet. He was so afraid, and after the race, he came 44th, and it said, "I am a loser," and that was the front page of the New Zealand Herald, and he was devastated. I was just that kid standing on the start line, just thinking, man, I can't believe I'm here. Fast forward 4 years later, Hamish is standing on the start line, and he said he dove in the water, and he's like, oh, they're pretty fish in here. And he said he looked out, and he saw a cruise ship. He said, oh, I think there's people on that cruise ship. The point is he had this incredible attitude going in. He just let it flow. He'd done the process. I jumped in. I said, Tim, I just want this to be over. I was so wrapped up in the outcome that I lost the whole Olympic experience. And so we sat there, and you could tell, I'm sure we just had that moment of just like, wow, that was not the way to compete. So as we head towards Beijing, I'm coming back to that kid's attitude. I have this wonderful, her name's Pippa, but we call her PK. And so I have this wonderful little 5-month-old daughter I have a great time with. It's kind of rejuvenated my idea of that kid in you. And I will just tell you quickly where your support goes and towards that journey, towards that process. As I said, process is everything. Well, the dollars that you put together here, and we've put together through Gold Medal Plates and GE and EBCOR and everyone who's involved, it's been 13 years since another Canadian was on the podium at a World Cup. We just placed 3 in the top 4 in Cancun. I had to sprint a Canadian. It's been a long time since that. And I called up Jenny. I said, that was close. And she said, yeah, they're coming, eh? And I said, yeah, I better get back to work. And the point is that we went to Cancun having trained for 2 weeks in a heat chamber that Pacific Sport out of Victoria built with funding that comes through from programs like this. We trained in there. We had a sports scientist in there taking sweat rates, taking heart rate, taking lactate levels. It was an incredible process. It was an hour and a half in there. He was sweating the whole time. And I went to Cancun, and I posted it on my blog, and one of my competitors came up and he said, you've been doing heat training in a chamber? And I said, yeah. And you could see in his eyes, he's like, I haven't been doing that. And I was like, I was thinking, you haven't been doing that. So the point is, that's where this money goes. You are helping athletes. And I don't know, I was a little skeptical going into the heat chamber. 3 of the top 4, we have another young guy, he's 23, he's placed 20th place. Incredible results. It's only the tip of the iceberg what's going to come for Canadians. I think you'll hear that anthem a lot. And the support that you give towards that, it truly makes a difference. So I thank you very much for that.